Welcome along, and today I am going to look at a rather interesting list, the Pontic army, and this is the 84 to 47 BC list. There are two main Pontic lists that players use, and I'm also going to add on the Pontic 110 list as well at the end of this video. They're quite similar. This list has the option of taking up to 9 of the Imitation Legionnaires, and the 110 list you get 2 pike units that you can take. So we'll do a little comparison at the end. I've started with this list. Maybe this list is slightly better because you get up to 9 of the Imitation Legionnaires, and as you can see, you don't really get a lot of good infantry. Also a little bit on the smaller side. You've got 15 units of infantry. Some of them are medium foot, so you're not going to win the battle with your infantry, but you need enough, I think, to keep yourself in it, and then to use your cavalry, because this really is a list that is dominated by the cavalry, and that's what we're going to have a look at. So you know, a lot of these lists that I've looked at recently, I did the Romans. They're a very infantry heavy list. The Roman list, that 199 list, you only get access to 3 cavalry in total on the base list, and then even with the Greek allies it's the same, and you just get 1 superior lancer that you can take. There are a few other lists or allies that maybe you could add a few more cav units, but with the Roman list it's all about infantry. Most of the pike armies, you're gonna have maybe more options. Maybe you can take 4, 5, 6 cav, but when you look at the Pontic army, you know, I've got some Iranian armored cavalry, I've got some Cataphracts, I've got these wonderful armored noble lancers, and if you look at the quality, all of them are superior quality, so that is going to give you an advantage. You're going to have to use the flanks, you're going to have to use your cavalry. Probably there's kind of 2 main ways to do it, I'd say. You can either almost put all your cav together and just dominate one side of the map, or maybe split them up more. Maybe you could hold back at the beginning and see how your opponent sets up. The light Javelin Horse will also help you. They're one of my favorite units in the game. I've said this a few times. So in conjunction with heavy cav, they can really be annoying. They can support cavalry, charge into cavalry, stop it moving, and then bring your heavier cav around. Cataphracts. Now Cataphracts are a little bit strange. I'm not sure what most players think about them. Maybe, in my opinion, they're for the price, they're 68. They're fighting quite a lot of spearmen, maybe a little bit underpowered, but saying that, they're superior quality and fully armored, and they're lancers, so they're going to do great against cavalry. There's not a lot of Cataphracts on the battlefield. A lot of lists don't have access to Cataphracts. There can't be many that do, so you're going to be able to dominate the cavalry, the enemy cavalry, most of the time. You've also got these great lancers as well, who are armored superior lancers, so they're excellent as well. So to win the battle, you're going to need to use your cavalry, and this kind of list is good for beginners, good for a change. Always playing with the Carthaginian list, always playing with the Roman list or pike list. So I think doing a video on the Pontic list, maybe I encourage more players, including myself, to try out this list, because it is very different to what you're used to playing with on some of the main armies. The Imitation Legionnaires are average quality, some armor. They're not great, but saying that, they're not bad either, because they're impact foot, which is good, bonus against spearmen, and in my experience, generally they can hold against better units for quite a while. You can also probably be a bit sneaky and put some generals in. Maybe I might put 2 generals in 2 of these units, maybe 2 in my cav, I don't know. It's one suggestion. And then that will keep them alive a bit longer while you do the damage with your cavalry. You've also got warbands. Warbands are large units, 700. Well, there's a difference there, but in general they're about 700 men compared to 460, 480, 500. They're a little bit larger, but they're larger than most units on the battlefield apart from pikes. Could also be useful to put a general in one of those. Different ways to play. You've got the standard amount of skirmishes. You've got, well, actually a little bit less than usual. I've got 7 here. Eastern Archer's a little bit expensive. I generally try and take the cheaper skirmishers. So 30. I've already got 2 at 30. So maybe you've got a little bit of a disadvantage with skirmishers. But then saying that, this light Javelin Horse is excellent at charging into skirmishers and keeping them away from your men. So you're okay on that front, I'd say. You've got some Thracians and also these warriors. Even though they're unprotected, they've got a heavy weapon and they're superior quality. So that's a big plus. 48. Generally, I've felt that they're not that great, but actually at 48, superior quality heavy weapon, they're used properly. Unfortunately, you only get 1, but they can be effective. And I was looking on the forum. There's some really interesting threads if you look on the forum and go back a little bit to some older posts, and there was a post about quality versus armor. Now obviously these units are unprotected. Most are lightly protected or protected, infantry at least, but it's not. But the point was that quality is more important than armor, because quality affects impact, it affects melee, it affects shooting and taking cohesion checks and morale. So quality is really important in this game, and it has a larger impact than armor, because armor really only has an effect on melee and on shooting. So the point being that superior quality units are actually really useful. So they can be useful, and as I've mentioned, all your cavalry are superior quality, so that's going to help as well. You're probably looking for a fairly open map. This map is probably not the best for the Pontic army because you've got patches of rough ground absolutely everywhere, so that's not good for your cavalry. The enemy can put skirmishes and medium infantry on these patches and hold you up. So you're really looking, and if I was playing for real, I would probably move my infantry back, get some space, maybe initially at least play fairly defensively. I've got a hill here, which is a little bit annoying. It is difficult because there's not a lot of space anywhere. So, yeah, maybe it would be better to start around there and just make the best of it. I checked on the stats, and as an example, there are 6 divisions in classical. Classical section in the Digital League is the most popular. It's always full. 6 divisions, 10 players in each, that's 60 players. Some sections only have 4 divisions, others 5, a few of them less than that. So there's a lot of players, and when I checked for players that use the Pontic lists, there being 6 divisions, there were 2 divisions where there was a Pontic army. This is for this season, and in Division B there was Morkin, he had the 110 list, and in Division E there was Bodron, and he had the 84 BC list, and this is the list he was using. This is the 84 BC list, and I had a look at their records. How did they do with this kind of army? And with this army, Bodron had, out of 9 games, he had 5 wins, 2 draws and 2 losses. So that's pretty good. And Morkin in Division B, a high division, Division B, usually a lot of good players, he had 5 wins, a draw and 3 losses. So again, he had a winning record and did quite well. So it just goes to show that even though this army on first glance doesn't look like it's particularly strong, apart from the cavalry, it can, if used properly, it can get some wins. Would I recommend it to beginners? Probably not. It would probably be better to play with your more standard armies, Roman, Carthaginian, some of the pike armies, Spartan, the Simichid, Pyrrhic, and so on, and then move on to something like this, because it's easy to make mistakes with this kind of army. You just don't have any really good infantry. This is average quality, the Warbands average quality, and then you've got your medium infantry. So you make a mistake, you know, one of your units gets disrupted, you get flanked, that can easily start a chain reaction, which you're just not going to recover from. just a chain reaction of routing, which happens more if you've got poor quality units. But it's, you know, fun to play with, because as an example with the Roman 199 list, I had absolutely no decent cavalry, and cavalry is really important in this game. I think I've become more a fan of cavalry as I've played this year, more and more games, both in medieval and in ancients, because with cavalry you can threaten flanks, you can tie up infantry units, you get impacts a lot of the time. You get impacts, especially with lancers. So we've got our lancers and our cataphracts. You've got the impact POA advantage. It's hard as well with this kind of army. If you're playing against this kind of army, if the cavalry comes around the flanks, it's hard to be aggressive. I've noticed this when I was playing as the Romans. You know, I've wanted to keep going and get into contact with the enemy infantry, but then I'm always kind of looking over my shoulder, looking at the flanks. How am I going to cover against all this cavalry? It's quite difficult. Often it's quite difficult. So that's an advantage that you have with all this cavalry, to, you know, make the enemy uncomfortable. Hold as long as you can in the middle, and then do the damage with your cavalry. In fact, what I'll probably do, maybe in a few weeks or month, in the next month perhaps, I will take out this army and I will give it a go, and we'll see. You know, I'm giving all these tips and tactics in this video, but, you know, can I actually do it myself? So we'll give it a go. We'll give it a go and see what happens. Okay, so now I will just add on a short video with the 110 list, and we'll compare and see if there's any big differences. And this is the 110 list, and let's have a look. As you can see, the main difference is the pikes. Now you get 4. I've done a count up comparing the lists, and in this kind of build you've actually got the same amount of infantry units, 15. But instead of 9 imitation legionnaires, you've got 4 pike units and 2 of those units. That means that you've got some extra medium foot. In the 84 BC list, we only had 1 of the Thracians, and we had 2 of these medium foot offensive spearmen. We've got 4 here, and we had the same number. We had 1. The warriors, the cavalry is the same, exactly the same. 2 cataphracts, 2 of the lancers, 2 warband units, that's the same, and the 5 Iranian armored cav, and the skirmishes are the same number as well. So it's difficult to make the judgment call. How well are these pike units going to do? Probably quite well. I mean, they're large units, standard units of classical era. You get 4 of them. you've still got 2 of the Imitation Legionnaires, so that gives you 6 heavy infantry units, and you've upgraded 4 of them compared to the 84 BC list. And so that means you've just got, instead of 3 Imitation Legionnaires, you've got 2 of the medium foot offensive spearmen and 1 Thracian. So maybe I'm beginning to think that the 110 list is better, because sometimes these units, even though they're medium foot, they're offensive spearmen, they can hold. They get their plus 100 POA against swordsmen, got the advantage. Thracians have got the heavy weapon. So, okay, it's better off having 3 Imitation Legionnaires, but when you're upgrading 4 of the units to pikes and everything else is the same, if I had to choose an army for the league, I would probably take this one. You could put a general or 2 in these units, and they would just give you a good base from which to build, and then you can do the damage with your cavalry. There is actually one other difference, which is the Javelin Horse. We had 3 Javelin Horse units with the 84 BC list, and we've only got 1 in this one. So that's another slight difference with that other list. Maybe if you didn't want 3 Javelin Horse, you could maybe keep 1, and you'd have 48 points, and you could take another medium infantry, perhaps. So there are a few variations. Rating. I started to give ratings for lists. This is going to be a little bit difficult, because I haven't played with the Pontic lists. In friendlies, I've maybe played with them once or twice, but I haven't used them in the league. I've played against them in the league, and I've done well. What could we say? A B? Maybe B or B minus. I think that's where I'm leaning, because especially with this list, you're just relying. You've got 6 medium infantry units that you've got to rely on to hold in the game, and they're going to be going up against Romans. They're going to be going up against pikes, veteran spear. It's going to be tough. Also, quite a few of the lists in classical period have elephants, and so the cavalry doesn't do very well against elephants, and elephants can't get flanked either. So, you know, you can throw an elephant in amongst some cavalry, enemy cavalry, and slow it down quite a bit. So you're going to have to use this list quite carefully, really, in order to do well. And if the players, I'll probably send them a message on the forum, actually, Morkin and Bodran. Maybe in the comments they want to tell us how they did, or any secrets that they want to share on doing well with the Pontic army. So maybe a Am I going to give them a B? Can we give them a B? Okay. No, I think I'm gonna go to B minus actually, for the moment. For the moment. And then maybe I'm gonna play with them myself, and then let's see how I can do with them. Maybe against the Romans it would be tough. Carthaginians would be tough. Most pike armies would be tough. So you probably need a little bit of luck, and you really need to use your cavalry well. Okay, thanks for watching, and see you soon.